Strangest. Society.
Welcome to the secret society.
Strangers?
So this episode, we're covering the missing 411, the greater umbrella of just missing people in general. Obviously, if you know anything about the missing 411, they are mystifying and pretty much terrifying cases of people just going missing in our national parks.
Society.
Strangers. Strangers in society.
Strangers on the internet.
The secret.
Strangest.
Society. Oh, welcome, stranger.
Secret of society. Strangers.
Society. Welcome to the secret society.
Strangers?
We already did this, so if you've been a long-time listener, this might sound like deja vu. You'd be right. We're going back. Us as a little podcast would like to think we grew up a little bit, and we're going to start revisiting some of the cases we did. Yeah, just a wee bit. We're going to start going back and revisiting some of our previous cases. So you're going to hear some of the cases we covered last time in this episode, plus some new stuff and some more information.
Yeah, so
already.
don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell, tell your friends, write a pigeon message, somebody else's friend, just show us some love.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps every little bit. We appreciate all the support. So thank you guys.
Absolutely.
All right. You guys ready to go get lost in the woods?
I'm
I'm
always ready to
ready.
get lost in the woods, but this time there's no mushrooms to be had.
No mushrooms. Unless you want to. I mean, if you're home and you're safe and you want to do mushrooms right now, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I could kind of see mine out of the corner of my eye. So I'm going to be responsible for podcasting.
There we go.
All right, guys, let's go.
So, Josh, for the people that are new here, let's start with the basics. So, what exactly are missing 411 cases? What makes them
I'm
different?
Really glad you asked these questions, Jen. So missing 411, it's a term that's been coined by investigator and author David Paulides. He's a beautiful mustachioed man.
Oh,
I
yes, he
think
is.
Magnum PI
Yeah.
and him have a rug for their money for each other.
It's the eyebrows for me.
But he's just look at that luscious goatee thing. But anyway, he's a former police officer who's transitioned into investigating all these weird disappearances and mysteries and whatnot. And he's got some self-published books out there and a couple of documentaries like Missing 411, The Hunted.
Yep.
And then there's another one, right?
There's the
UFO
regular,
one.
just the missing 411. There's the hunted, and then there's like the alien-based one.
Yeah. And so his self-published books and films, have documented all these cases pretty thoroughly. And he's got his own sort of like criteria for what actually counts as a missing 411 case.
Yeah, he calls them profile points.
Yeah, so he's
Documents.
identified. So Paulides has identified a pattern in these cases that makes them distinct from your typical missing persons reports. These are, strange, unexplained elements that define what a missing 411 case would be. So people vanish without a trace, often, within moments of being seen. Like literally somebody would be like looking behind them. They'll look back in front and this person's just gone in front of them without a trace. Disappear.
Yeah, we got a few of those today.
Yeah, that's creepy as fuck. Search dogs can't find a scent or follow it or they follow it to an impossible location, like over the edge of a cliff or into a lake. Bodies or belongings are sometimes found in areas that have already been searched. And it's like sometimes the, belongings have just reappeared there.
Even the bodies. Sometimes
Yeah.
like they've searched areas and they've just found the whole person again. Even alive, there's been cases where they find the person in a place they search and the person's still alive.
Yeah, and it's like an obvious place, like in the middle of like a clearing or some shit like
Yeah.
Yeah,
that.
like boulder
Yeah.
field.
And then there's often no clear cause of death, even when the coroners list something generic like, exposure or hypothermia, but then it just makes no sense
Mhm.
because the person just seems like they just killed over and died. It also gets a little weirder than it's already getting as weird as it is. So the FBI has reportedly been monitoring these strange disappearances and missing persons cases in the national parks since the 60s.
Oh.
Yeah, the FBI, the federal government, has been keeping an eye on missing persons in national parks.
Well,
But
I've been keeping my eye on the
they've never
government.
officially admitted why or what they found. That's the weird part.
No. And it's
Ah.
interesting that like they're selective on which ones of these cases they get involved in.
Mhm.
And there's no real rhyme or reason to like what is causing them to like take interest in a particular case.
Yeah.
Oof. So yeah, FBI involved adds an entirely new layer to
Mm.
what's already a creepy circumstance.
Right. And just putting it out there, the FBI is out in the woods. We don't know if they're helping.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't
we
trust
could
them.
be just watching them like either destroy evidence or
Plant
give you the red herring.
evidence.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
Yeah,
They're sneaky.
that they are.
So there are more like points that he groups together for like similarities in all these cases.
Hmm. So, like, yeah, in many of the cases, it's just the weather turns super bizarre right after somebody goes missing. Like, all of a sudden, a rainstorm or a snowstorm comes in, high winds, and it just makes the search and rescue just nearly impossible. And then you have to wait a couple of days
Mm.
because this freak storm came out of nowhere that wasn't on anybody's radar.
Yeah.
Some witnesses also report an unsettling silence in search areas. Like, if you've ever been in the woods or like, heard somebody or like, oh yeah, you can tell a predator's near when like it goes dead silent in the woods
Right.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like that odd, eerie feeling of like, why is it so quiet? That happens before people
Oof.
go missing. There's like a profile on the type of people that go missing as well. So many of these people disappear near water, boulder fields, or areas with granite and quartz. And some believe that the minerals may amplify like electromagnetic activity or have some other unknown effects. Like maybe they just opened a portal or something, super far off, far fetched, but like who
Hey
knows?
man, everything's on the table.
Yeah.
Everything is literally on the table now. The disappearances often happen in the mid to late afternoon. So it's never like super early in the morning or in the evening or at night, even. It's just, midday to afternoon. And then here's the thing, it's like with people with disabilities or illnesses seem to be at a higher risk of like being taken or like just vanishing. Maybe it's just because they're an easier target for predators or whatever's making people just vanish out there. So all of it is just terrifying.
Yes.
And I don't see why people go out there.
Yeah.
The one thing that comes off the list when you say like the illness or the disabilities is that like, those are the people that probably aren't going to get too far.
That
Like
a good
some of the
point.
senior citizens or like
Yeah.
some of the
Mhm.
people with physical handicaps are probably not going to like wander miles
Deeper
and
into the
miles
woods.
away from where they started.
Right.
Yeah, and some of these people have been found like up a sheer cliff, like, and it's already physically impossible for like a small child to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So what about like experienced outdoorsmen or hikers? Are they included in some of these cases, or are they somewhat exempt because of their experience?
Well, we might as well add another layer to this strange parfait.
No.
So a lot of these cases do involve, people who are highly skilled in survival. You've got military veterans, hunters, seasons outdoors enthusiasts. These folks are just well equipped with, radios, GPS, weapons, gear out the ass. But then they still mysteriously vanish just like anyone else. It
With
makes
all their
no
shit.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
it's
their
not
gear
good.
goes missing, everything. So like I can't imagine if, like, especially like you said, if this is a skilled outdoorsman, and let's just put like the human factor, so it's a sick person that's kidnapping people. Like, your target's not going to be like a ex Green Beret with a GPS locator, a handgun, and like a survival pack. And if it is, it's going to be hell of a fight. You're going to see marks and scuffle stuff all over the floor.
Yeah.
Gear would be spread all over the place. There'd be blood and like these seasoned people like disappear.
Yeah, there's no trace.
Yeah. It could not happen. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Because even to think, like, I don't consider myself like a super tough guy, but like if someone tried to grab me in the woods, I would imagine I put up a fight.
Well,
Right.
Wouldn't-
Yeah.
That's like the last place that you expect another human to be.
I know, but I have been
Mhm.
in the woods, like you said, Josh, and it's
Mhm.
gotten quiet, and you're just like,
Yep.
you're the realization of
That
like
you're not
how yeah, exactly, like how little you are and like how
Mhm.
unadept to like your surroundings you are instantly just comes home, and you're like, oh, like I
Yeah.
can't climb
'Cause it-
trees, I have no claws, I don't have like good teeth.
Yeah, it's like some primal realization.
And it happens so fast. It's not like it's a gradual thing. It's just like normal woods noise, and then all of a sudden
Mhm.
you just realize that.
Silent.
Yeah. And then it's
So-
not.
So what
Well,
about
And
like
then you're sitting there like, oh fuck, how long has it been this quiet for? And like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
oh man. Yeah,
where's
it
the
really
mountain
messes
lion?
with me.
Where's
So back to the seasoned, outdoors people. Yeah, it's their, weapons and radios and clothing. Like we've said, they just disappear without a trace. And you would expect, like Lee said, to find marks of a scuffle and, dropped flashlight. But
Something.
no, it's like nothing was there.
Yeah.
And then when items are found, they're left in like bizarre or random locations. And then there's like one case, I don't think we talk about it in here, but it's one that I heard about where like person went missing, they searched, and then like a year or two later, this person's like clothes were found neatly folded, like they
I've
never
heard
had
that one.
been like
Yeah.
disturbed or nothing
all.
like that on like a log or something.
Yeah.
So creepy.
Terrifying.
Yeah. So speaking of that, just talk a little bit about the search efforts. I mean, do they ever give any solid answers in those early days, especially?
I really wish I had good news about this, but they have a so bad, like a shitty like search rate.
No, that's why we're
So-
talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, if they were finding everybody, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. So, but yeah, rarely their searches come up with anything. Even with like extensive search and rescue operations with like helicopters, tracker dogs, infrared imaging, like the nines. The results are almost always the same. No sign of the person, and then when the bodies or belongings are found, it's often in places that have already been searched super well. And it's almost as the items were moved there later to be like, no, it's been here this whole time. You guys just
Yeah, you
overlooked
just
it.
didn't see it. Yeah.
So whatever trickster entity is out there, it's just fucking with people.
Mm.
Right. So it's like something or someone's out there playing hide and go seek with you, and like inevitably you're the loser because you don't even know what it is.
Oh man, I bet you there's like a horrible like B or C list horror movie about that plot. Hide and seek in the woods.
It's like the Blair Witch Project.
Oh yeah.
And
Get lost
I
in the
really
woods.
want to watch that again. Like the original one.
Hmm.
But yeah, pretty much they're playing hide and seek out in the woods. And here there's another important point for anyone venturing into the wilderness. You should always, 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 and I do this myself when I go on hikes and stuff like that,
Mhm.
is tell somebody where you're fucking going.
Yes.
Like for
Yes.
Every
real.
time.
Yes.
Yep.
You tell them where you're going, how long you're going to be gone, and then if you're not back by said time, they should call somebody for help if you don't
Mhm.
return. And then Paulides himself even stresses the importance of preparation and communication when you're exploring like these really remote areas, like some of these people do.
Yeah, for real.
Like, it's super
Safety
important.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also just, when you realize you're lost, don't keep moving.
Mm-mm.
Stop.
no,
point.
sit put.
Stay in one spot.
And then like get your head straight, because you're gonna freak out that you're lost, and then you're gonna
Yes,
start wandering around more and get more lost.
exactly. And yeah, so
And
that's,
if you told someone where you were,
yeah,
chances are when you realized you were lost, you're the closest to that spot that you were going to be. So
yes.
wandering is not going to help you.
You'll at
Yeah,
least
no,
hear
it's not
them
gonna help
yelling for
anybody.
you. Right.
Yeah.
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 So
I mean, and to backtrack and take it out of the woods, you should be letting people know where you go in this world every day.
that
Like,
is
Oh,
it
yeah.
true.
sounds over cautious, but there's a reason why I can listen to a new true crime podcast every fucking day, because these stories keep happening, whether you're in the woods or in a city. Like, people vanish, and
Yeah.
it's, I think, not as thought of in like the suburban urban areas to like remind people that like, hey, I'll be back at this time. If I'm not back, question where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't have a Liam Neeson's to come save me like he did that girl in
No, I do
Taken.
not. I do not.
I got my little dog that'll be out there searching. That's about it.
My dogs wouldn't even do that.
My dog would have a
Yeah.
heart attack if I wasn't there.
Aw.
They're the worst at searching. I have to like point at like food that they've dropped. It's like, you
Yeah.
guys would be terrible drug dogs.
Ah, that's so sad. Yeah, I've got 2 hunting dogs, so that's good for me.
I don't know. Yep. Life lesson, key takeaway, let people know where you're
Yes,
going.
and don't
Pretty
move.
much, yes.
If you
Yeah,
are
don't
lost,
move.
just don't move. So I'm kind of still though stuck on the FBI stuff. If they have been watching these cases since the 1960s, there has to be something bigger going on, because they're not going to waste their time for nothing.
Right,
Well-
right. And they've got all these resources that they're using and everything like that. And
Yeah.
so that's one of the reasons why Paulides, started investigating all this, because it's just super weird. And why is the federal government taking interest in this?
Mhm.
So, with his background in law enforcement, like we talked about earlier at the top, it gave him some more access to information that we wouldn't know as the general public, and, some other private networks that, like I said, we wouldn't have access to.
Yeah.
And he noticed the strange patterns in these cases and started compiling all this data, which led him to writing his book and making these documentaries.
He's legit. And if you watch any of his, like, was it The Missing Can-Am, I think is his YouTube page, or
Yeah.
Can-Am Missing. Like, he is fucking dedicated. Like, he does nothing but spend his time talking to people about missing people and like
Mhm.
looking for missing people. So,
Damn.
even if people are considering like his reactions or like the whole idea of the missing 411 like overblown, like, he has enough research that he's doing something every day and looking at new cases. So it's not,
That's crazy. That's his life work now.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So with his background, how did he even get turned on to what's now become the missing 411 in the first place?
Yeah, so he was in law enforcement for 20 years, serving in roles like he was on SWAT, he was a detective, and then he
Just a
began
badass.
his research. Yeah, I know, right? Fucking SWAT and a detective, like that's super sick. And it's just his research really began after a park ranger mentioned to him that the unusual frequency of disappearances in national parks, and I guess nobody had really thought about it really before then. And so that conversation launched his investigation into what is now known to become most of the most compelling mysteries of our time, honestly, because nobody knows what the fuck is
As far as
happening.
missing
Mhm.
people go,
Yeah, as
like
far
I
as
said,
missing
Yeah.
people go.
it's so, there's just so many. And like, we're going to cover some of them we already covered. We're covering new ones. There's podcasts, there's YouTube videos, and like, obviously he's got his documentaries, his books, and in all these things, like we said, the same occurrences, the same common thread goes through all of them. No one knows where these people went.
Yeah.
A lot of the times they're super experienced hunters. It's pretty scary.
Yeah. It's wild. And then you've got to account for people are going to be skeptical about this also.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, people do consider like the whole 411 thing like overblown, but give me a better answer. Someone tell me something that makes it seem overblown and I'll stop overreacting. Because right now,
Right.
where are they?
Yeah, like what is happening to these people?
Mhm.
I don't know. It's wild.
So should we get into some of these cases?
Let's do it.
Yes.
You. So most of these cases are going to be from around like my area of the woods. So like Montana, Washington State. And I think there's one in the Smoky Mountains.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
yeah, we're going to be jumping all over the place. So to kick things off, we've got the case of Barbara Bullock, and that's in the Bitterroot Mountains in Montana. And there she is, nice easy trail thing. She looks like she's been on a hike or two in her life. So this is one of like the most baffling cases. So back in 2007, Barbara went missing. She went hiking with a family friend, Jim Ramaker, and on the Bear Creek Overlook Trail in the Bitterroot Mountains. So you got that trailhead right there in the picture. It doesn't look too hard. Yeah, I mean, like it'd probably take some time, but it doesn't look
Mhm.
anything challenging.
Yeah, it's like 4 miles, probably 8 miles in and back.
Yeah, it's a relatively short and well-traveled trail. It's like one of those little touristy trails that are super easy.
Mm.
And so Barbara was an experienced hiker, and she knew what she was doing. She knew the area very well.
Ooh.
So around 11:30 in the morning, Jim stopped to admire the view because he was, from out of town. He's probably like, "Oh shit, this looks super beautiful." So I'm going to take a couple of pictures. And Barbara was literally 20 feet away from him. He looked back to like look at something or whatever, and then turned around probably less than a minute later, and she was just gone, just vanished. Girl gone.
No
Whoa.
sounds.
Yeah.
Nothing. No screams. No like, oh shit. No. Yeah. It's fucking scary. Yeah, that's that like turnaround.
So he didn't hear anything.
No, not a sound. And here's, I'd love to say this is the weird part of it, but it just keeps progressively getting weirder and weirder.
Oh.
So this trail is covered in like loose, like shale rocks, or like real big pieces of rock that like just sound like Legos when you step on them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It just makes it nearly impossible for somebody to move quietly on any of that.
Yeah.
'Cause it's not going to happen. It's all sliding. It's loud as shit, and we all know what it would sound like. So if she'd slipped, Jim would have heard something instantly.
Yeah.
And the search efforts were very extensive. They used dogs, helicopters, a FLIR imaging, infrared, but they found no trace of her or any of her belongings. It's just like she just got sucked
It's
up
so
into the
crazy.
nothing, into the ether.
It's so crazy. And like you were saying, like that shell, like if you fell off of something, like, okay, so maybe your body didn't make a sound, but that stuff doesn't stop moving because you're not touching it anymore. Like
Yeah,
it
it's gonna-
cascades and it'll shift and fall like after you step on it.
Yeah, it's
Especially
gonna
if you're
kick
falling.
up a dust cloud and everything too. So like you'd see
But-
evidence of like something moved.
Well, and just think though, if you fell, I mean, there's no way. I mean, even if we just like trip over something, we're gonna do something like an oh shit, or or
yeah,
you know
somebody's
what
gonna
I
say
mean.
something.
You never just fall down quietly, or at least I never have in my life.
No, even if it's like
I've
a
never felt
stupid
quietly.
like
Yes, that's what I mean.
stumble, you like laugh, you go, oh shit, I almost just
Exactly.
ate it.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
and then
yeah.
there's no way, even if she just started walking away from him with that
Oh, yeah.
shell. I mean, you would think he
You'd
would be
hear
like,
the crunch and everything.
oh,
and
I mean,
yeah,
just
it's
and
impossible. to
certainly
move.
not an animal, because we know you're going to at least get one scream out before, anything
And-
happens. There's no way.
If I'm right, I think she's armed. I think she has a firearm with her. So like,
yeah, she had a fucking 357 Magnum on her.
Damn,
and like you don't carry
Montana,
that if you
I
haven't
love
shot a
it.
gun.
Yeah, it's not what I have. That's for sure.
She has got a hand cannon on
Yeah, for
her.
real, bro.
And then she also had like food and water with her, but none of her gear was found. It just vanished with her.
No.
Again. And like to play devil's advocate here, like if it was like foul play by her friend that was with her,
Yeah.
again, shale rock, scrapping, mess up on the ground. You would see broken sticks, you would see gear. If someone was shot, there'd be a casing, there would be blood. Like
Yeah.
nothing is found.
Nothing. And then
Oh.
the cops did like interview the friend that was with her, and there
Obviously,
was
yeah.
2 other hikers that were on the trailhead with them at the same time, and they asked the friend to take a picture of them, and then they left, go back to the beginning of the trail. So they all interviewed, and yeah, he wasn't found for doing any wrongdoing or murder.
Foul play,
Well,
murder.
Foul play, that's the word.
it wouldn't have been a very smart, especially to ask them to take a picture of you. So now, even if you had been planning something, this is a terrible idea. We're going to have to scrap this, 86 it, because you've now got witnesses.
Yeah.
And hiking trails are probably like the worst place to like hurt someone.
Exactly.
And like
I mean,
have to worry about disposing of the body at any second.
you've got
Someone
Yeah.
could come past.
Yeah, because you've got to somehow lure them at least deep into the woods. You can't just be off the trail doing this nefarious nonsense. I mean, and again, how's he going to get her without? It just doesn't make sense. Yeah,
No. But yeah,
Okay.
nobody knows
Possible.
what happened to this lady.
that would be the most logical, I guess, but still a little odd. Yeah, doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
I think
Doesn't make sense.
there's other people in the woods. The woman's armed. No one screams. No one hears a
Yeah.
gunshot. No one sees anything.
Yeah, if
'Cause,
there was
yeah.
foul play, there would have been blood and everything all over the place. She would have
Mhm.
screamed. She would have
Yeah.
shot that fucking gun off.
And from what I know of true crime, which is probably too much,
Same.
like this guy doesn't sound like a experienced killer. And what we know from like all these true crime podcasts and the history of killers is that like that comfortable, calm coolness only comes after doing it multiple times. So if this was the first woman he hurt, he would have left all kinds of clues.
Well, I'm
Like, he would
sure.
have not been able to clean her up and get her out of there without any sign.
Oh, I'm sure they ran him through the ringer. I have no
Mhm.
doubt. So,
Gunpowder residue on his hands and all that. They probably did. But
whew, okay.
again,
Don't like
zero
that.
evidence.
Can't even
Where
have a
did she go?
357 and be
I
safe.
know.
Yeah, like there's just a gun missing in the woods
Yeah.
somewhere now.
I mean, I
Oh.
feel like in America, there's a lot of guns missing in the woods.
Yeah, yeah.
Homeless guns. We have a homeless gun epidemic.
Don't take a magnet. Don't go magnet fishing in your local.
Oh
I go
my
magnet
God.
fishing all the time. I've not found a gun yet.
Really?
Damn, have you found anything
No.
interesting though?
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. Just like stuff you would expect to see in like a Pennsylvania river. A lot of railroad spikes.
Mhm.
Mm, I guess I
a
wouldn't
lot
know
of
what to
l-
expect in a
tires and
Pennsylvania
rims and
river.
shit. What'd you say?
I wouldn't know what to expect in a Pennsylvania
Oh,
river.
well, yeah. Railroad ties. That's a lot
Yeah.
of railroad spikes and
Same.
ties.
So people
A
find
lot of,
here a
like-
lot.
Yeah, like I found one of those somewhere, like a big hook. It probably had like rope going through it. It's like a pulley.
Oh,
Hook on it.
damn.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is all kinds of random garbage.
I bet you I know exactly what you won't find in your river though.
What?
The case of Robert Bugsy Springfield.
Be fucking crazy
Oh.
if I did.
Oh my God, if you found
Bugsy.
him in your river, that would be wild as fuck.
Yeah. I think some
Because
people
I would want
be-
to know how he got from the Bighorn Mountains of Montana to
Montana.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Just thinking about being in the wilderness in Montana is scary.
It's
to me.
beautiful. I love
It's
Montana.
beautiful.
Love
Yeah.
Montana.
That's some outback that I'm not prepared for.
Grizzlies.
Man, that's
I
it. You got to
just-
come out here.
ugh.
We'll go.
It's the
Mountain lions,
grizzlies.
grizzlies.
You
Moose
leave
is
them
delicious.
alone. They leave you alone on moose, not grizzlies. Everyone.
That's
What?
why I don't fuck with them.
Yeah, a moose can fight a shark.
Why do we know this?
I don't know. I saw it on some show.
They,
I think it was like
I
Shark
know-
Week or something.
I know they do like swim
Swim
Yeah.
underwater.
well.
Because they got
Yeah, I
the
was
really
big
well.
shocked
lungs.
when I learned they could swim like that
Yeah.
well. As awkward as they are. Yeah, I'm like the moose magnet. When we go to Maine, we go off grid and we find so many moose. We keep our distance because we're like sane
Do you
people.
call them a flock of meese or are they just
Oh,
mooses?
That's one of my
Or
favorite
moose.
shirts that says meese, but it's moose. I know that it is, but we like to say meese and meeses just
Yeah,
because it's
it sounds
stupid and it's
cuter.
fun, you know. And it makes more sense. How is there not a plural
does.
for something that big?
Speaking
I
of
was-
moose, wasn't
Sorry.
Robert a elk hunter?
He was out hunting elk, but he was also a Marine special ops vet. So like this dude like knew how to
Damn.
handle himself outside.
Mm-hmm.
So
And with
back
people.
in 04, yeah, and with people. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, try to fuck with this guy. No, I'm all right. I'm a-okay on that. So back in 04, Bugsy went elk hunting with, two of his sons in the Bighorn Mountains. on the Crow Indian Reservation. And so he was, like I said, special ops guy, incredibly skilled, knew how to survive outside. He's been hunting all his life pretty much. And then, but the weird thing is, like, after he separated from his sons, he just never showed back up at like their meeting spot. And they always had the same meeting spot because it was the land that they've hunted in their family for years and years and years and
Right.
years. So it's not like he wouldn't know where he was going.
Yeah. And again, like your sons, like, you're not alone. You're not with like people that
Right.
are gonna just be like, my dad just walked into the woods. I'm gonna go home. Like,
Right.
this is
It's not part of their
people-
plan. Yeah. Once we
They
have the grizzly.
Yeah, they're on
Yeah.
a family hunting trip.
Yeah, it's super weird. And did they ever find like his remains or anything? Like, I don't know.
So here's the interesting thing. 2 years later, this hunter stumbled upon some partial human remains under a tree. They found a skull, a femur, Bugsy's belt, and his boots. And they also found his wallet with everything inside of it still, like the contents of his ID. Like his wallet had his ID, his cash, and all that was just recovered too. And here's the kicker though. Despite all this stuff being outside for 2 years, the wallet showed no signs of like weathering at all.
In Montana.
Yeah.
After 2 winters, or at least one.
Yeah. So you've got rain, you've got winter, then you've got the winter melt. Like this thing should have been fucked up. Or at least the stuff inside of it should have just been mush.
For real. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So either somebody found it, stored it indoors, and took it back, which I don't love, or something really weird is going on, which I love even less.
Something weird's definitely going on.
It's checking all the creepy boxes,
Yeah.
right? So there were no signs of his bow or other gear. So like his weapon was gone, his gear was taken, and the cause of the death said undetermined.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
It's just so weird. Like special forces. And then you find his stuff perfectly like preserved for 2 years.
Yeah. And of course they did like an extensive search and everything, but yet again, it's just like the wilderness just swallowed him up and won't give anything back except for what it did. I want to know
And-
like how, like, it's so terrifyingly creepy that like his wallet was left unweathered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, I mean, leather's good, but if it was assuming it was a leather wallet, but
Yeah. But even
mean,
in the sun,
lot. I'm just the
Rain,
wet
wind.
alone. Like they
Yeah.
measure snow in feet, of course, in Montana. And so that's a lot to go
Yeah.
through for anything, for the inside contents of it. So I'm curious though, I assume that they did a massive search for him prior to him being found. Did they find anything before this discovery in the 2 years between? No.
No.
Huh.
Yeah, and this
It's
one,
so
this one
wild.
is
Again, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't leave your
Like,
belt.
ah.
Special forces, like God forbid something happened, like that's your tourniquet. Like you just wouldn't leave that shit. Your
Well-
ID, like you wouldn't put it down.
Well, no, and it makes no sense, like with his bow and different things, because them saying undetermined, essentially, I mean, I get it. When all you're left with is skeletal, anything, all they can tell is nobody shot him in the head or he didn't have a cracked skull.
Yeah.
That would be an
Right.
obvious potential cause of death. So then, it's almost like if they find him under this tree, like he just, sat down and died, of natural causes or presumably. But
Oh, and
where would his bow go? An animal does not care about that bow to drag it
No.
off. That makes no sense.
no, and then someone like a wanderer or a scavenger would, like a human, would take his stuff too, like a belt, a wallet, like those things
cash
are
in it?
useful. Yeah, it's very strange. The whole
Yeah.
skilled secret forces thing. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
special forces. Did I say secret forces?
Secret, but
you
same
did,
thing.
but
They're
it's-
secretive.
Oh, no, that's crazy. All right, next case.
Oh man, yeah, this one's another weird one too. And this one also like kind of hits a little bit home for me because I've done this trail in
Whoa.
Olympic
Oh,
National Park.
Whoa.
Yeah, so
really?
like it's crazy.
Okay.
This one, it's an easy ass trail too. Like it's well marked. It's a big trail. There's other people that walk it all the time. Like look how well maintained that trailhead
Oh,
is. Yeah, like
yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, anytime they actually give you railings, that is like next level in a natural.
Huh? But yeah, the Olympic National Forest is amazing. It's beautiful. I highly suggest it. I did like a 2-day hike around it, and it was so sick.
Oh, nice.
So this guy's name is Gilbert Gilman, and
Gilman. You sure he's
Gilman,
not the creature
the
from the
creature.
Black Lagoon?
Oh man, our sleeping winter of
Right.
spooky season.
He might be now. Who knows?
Oh
This is how he
man,
ended up that way.
it's crazy. This is the
Oh,
prequel. So Gilman, as we already know, he's a highly trained army paratrooper and he's
of course.
counterintelligence expert. Like this guy had like he was with some three-letter acronym agencies, you know, as a
Yeah.
counterintelligence guy. So he had some secrets and there's possible evidence like that he could have been meeting up with some spies and stuff like that, but
Hmm.
that's hearsay. So back in 2006, he went for a short walk on the Staircase Rapids Loop Trail in Olympic National Park, and it's such an easy trail, like I said. But he never came back. He never came back. He just went on this trail. He had like a camera, and that was it. Because like you don't need to take a big backpack with you on this trail unless you want to take a
Right.
snack with you.
It's
And he just never showed
2.1
back up.
miles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
he never showed back up to his car. He just vanished.
Yeah.
Oh.
And like you said, there is like a theory that he like met with some other person from some 3-letter organization and like deliberately went missing. But there's not a whole lot of evidence to support that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's another interesting one. But yeah, they did like a big search for this guy too,
Okay.
a 10-day search because obviously like if somebody like this guy who had counterintelligence and worked for like the CIA, FBI and other organizations, they're going to want their asset back.
So crazy. Imagine like some other adversary took him. Like there's
Yeah.
like Russian
somebody like
spies in
a
our
Russia
forest.
spy or somebody
Yeah.
took him and wanted to find his secrets and shit like that. But then here's the kicker. 2 other hikers disappeared from the same trail in the 80s.
Oh my
Mm.
gosh.
So like it's not the first time that somebody's disappeared on this trail either.
The third time on an
Yeah.
easy
It's
trail.
so
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's crazy. Like and then like there's been parts of like the Olympic National Forest that I've been in and it just straight up looks like another planet.
Mm.
It's just
I don't
it's
know.
otherworldly in there. It's like Jurassic Park meets like Star Wars where Yoda lives.
Like Muir Woods, where they shot Star Wars in California, is like that. Like it just all like big redwoods and fern.
Yeah, that's how it is here.
Yeah, looks like a
You're expecting like cute little cuddly Ewoks to pop out.
Hannibal Ewok.
Hannibal Ewoks. Oh man, rabid Ewoks.
They're not nice. Ewoks are not supposed to be nice.
I don't know. They seem pretty nice in the movies, and I'm gonna take that one.
I just got an update from David Paulides missing 411.
No shit.
Yeah, missing 411 mysteries of the missing national forest. Yeah, that's funny.
A fourth person goes missing on this trail
Right,
as
like-
we're talking about it.
As we're talking about it, he's like, "Hey, I heard you guys are talking about this." I don't know, man, but we got more cases.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do.
Okay.
So yeah, we're gonna keep in Washington State. This one's another unsettling case, and it
I don't
takes
think
us.
did we do this one last time?
I can't remember if we did or I don't think we did.
Hmm.
So this is going to be a new one, and if it's not a new one, I'm sorry
Oh.
for saying it's a new one, but it's beautiful.
Mhm.
Washington's a beautiful state. Like
It
I
really
loved
is.
living out there. So this is Kolchak Lake in Washington. It's up in the Cascades. So back in September 9th, 2004, Richard R. Lee, he was an experienced hiker, yet again, experienced, sets off alone for what he planned for was to be like a 2-day little hiking, hunting trip, whatever. And he headed to Kolchak Lake in the Winnetachie Okanagan National Forest. So it's I'm sure I butchered that last word, but yeah, it was up there in that national forest. And the weather for the day, perfect. Just like that picture. Just crystal clear, blue skies, crystal clear water, perfect conditions. You couldn't have asked for anything better.
Wow. Wow. So yet again, we have not a rookie going in on a planned trip and just vanishes.
Yeah,
And that's
pretty
it.
much.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah. He had the skills, he had everything. I can't say about, anything else, but yeah, he had the skills and everything else you would need to essentially survive out there. So during the 2 days, Richard would he phoned his brother to say everything was good, so he checked in, like you're supposed to. Everything was going great until he fucking vanished.
Crazy.
Yeah, he didn't come home on September 11th, and his wife wasn't too alarmed because maybe she thought that he just decided to stay a couple of more days out in the wilderness because that's, his MO. Like if he'd stay out because he was just that experienced. And by the 15th, she called the authorities because she was kind of getting a little sketched out.
Absolutely not. No one ever no. No hate to her.
So
but
there's a
just no.
2-day gap between like the last contact and the report of him going missing.
It's a 4-day gap.
Yeah,
4-day
longer
gap.
than that.
Sorry, 4-day gap.
Yeah.
That's a long
really
gap.
Bad.
Yeah, like Jen said, if somebody fucking start calling the dogs, the army, the navy, fucking everybody.
Yeah, at that point, like, I don't care if I'm annoying you. Like, I'm just checking in.
You said that you'd be back, and you weren't back.
Yeah.
I'm not waiting no 4 days. I mean, I look at it, anything can happen. I don't care how experienced you are. You can trip over a twig and break your femur, I don't know what's happened to you that you might need help.
Yeah, that's important. That 4 days, like, you can survive a couple of days with a broken leg out in the wilderness. It'll be the exposure, but 4 days, cold nights, predators.
Yeah, because we're in fall.
Yep.
So nights can't be that great.
Nah, especially up at that elevation. Nah, it's not going to be warm at all.
Oh, God. Think about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was a big search and rescue effort launched, obviously. And this one was a big one. Like, it went across 70 miles. And they focused on Lake Stewart, Chuck Lake, and the Enchantment Lakes area, which is like southeast of Leavenworth. And then the weather, like we said at the beginning, just turned really shitty out of nowhere. Like it wasn't on anybody's radar. And then 8 inches of snow fell and making already a damn near impossible task even more difficult.
Yeah, nature's gonna nature, so I don't know why I'm even asking, but did they find anything?
Oh, man. They found his car.
Oh.
I love that you asked these questions because they did find his car, then his campsite.
Oh.
But it was well off the trail. His gear, like his sleeping bag and food, was just hung up in a tree to keep it safe from bears, which is, a pretty common thing that outdoorsmen people do and stuff like that. Yeah. But that's it. No sign of Richard, no remains, no nothing. Just vanished yet again.
Campsite was
does
fine.
the Homer Simpson into the wilderness.
So, but the campsite was fine. Like he just left.
Yeah. There's some weird stuff going on. So like some researchers that were at the campsite reported just feeling like off. Like, you like walk into a room or somewhere and you can just feel the energy and you're just like, I have no business being here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that it just were uncomfortable, feeling uneasy and stuff, and they just couldn't explain why. And that's an eerie feeling in itself.
Absolutely.
And then that's where the trail went cold, and perfect weather. He was an experienced hiker, careful planning, checked in, did all the things, but he still vanished. No answers, no closure. I couldn't even imagine.
And again, it's just another case with like no answers, nothing.
Right.
We got to like stare at his campsite and just wonder.
Yeah.
And just feel eerie. Oh man.
And I can't imagine how that would feel, knowing, especially if you just disappear off a street, you know, in New York City, but having a 4-day behind, can you imagine like what you're up
Yeah.
against with that? I mean,
And bad weather roll on top of
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Like if he
But
did survive and he was safe, now like you're rushing against time and the
yeah,
weather.
So you guys want to jump into another case?
Yep.
why
Let's keep
not?
it going.
Never leaving my house again.
Never leaving yeah, and you're like, this is like your neck of the woods too.
Yeah,
So
this
this is the
close to
Smoky
you, Jack.
Yeah, I
Mountains.
know about this one. Yeah.
Yep. Dennis Martin in 1969. This one, it's baffled investigators, haunted a family, and just fueled so many like mountain theories. So let's get into this one. Dennis Martin, he was a 6-year-old boy. He vanished without a trace in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Let's set the scene for you guys. So it was Father's Day weekend, June 14th, 1969. Martin, his brother, and his dad and his grandfather were on this big family camping trip in the Cades Cove area of the Smokies. And they had a simple plan. And it was a nice, simple plan. Hike, enjoy nature, and celebrate the holiday together. Some wholesome shit right there. You'd see that on the Hallmark Channel.
Just the guys.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a wholesome experience.
It's like a wide open space too. So if you look at this picture, that's the last spot. So like right next to that, they got there and that was their spot. Everyone was setting up there to like have their little picnic or whatever they were going to do in that afternoon. And then that area turned dark.
Dun, dun,
Real quick.
dun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty, like the picture there, you could pretty much see open except for, shrubbery and bushes and stuff. So while he was playing a game of hide and seek with some other kids that were on the trip as well, Dennis, he hid in the bushes, and there's obviously so many bushes to choose from out there. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're not, there's just a picture with it's a clearing with a bunch of bushes and the kid hid in the bushes. So his dad was keeping an eye on him from the distance because he was setting up camp and whatnot. But then this just obviously disappears like all the other cases that we've talked about. No sound, no struggle, no nothing.
Wow.
That one, this one in particular with the children always makes it that much. Like, this gives me such a bad feeling. It's just like picture that you're getting ready for this weekend. You're all excited. You're setting up camp. You could hear the kids playing behind you. You're assuming everything's fine.
Yeah.
And then like you turn around and as a parent, like any parent that's listening or anyone who's had to watch a kid at like a playground or something has had that moment where like you can't put your eyes on the kid.
Yeah.
And everything just stuck and falls out of your asshole. It's the worst feeling. Now imagine that in like this open clearing where a 6-year-old boy can't run out of your sight in a couple seconds and he's nowhere to be found. Oh, like.
Well, and why would
Yeah.
he? I mean, I know they're playing hide and seek, but he's playing with other kids. So why would he go so far that he's out of, vocal range or, that kind of thing? It just doesn't make sense.
No.
None of it makes sense.
If you remember being a kid and hiding, like there's a timer there. Like you can only hide for so long. One, you're going to have to pee. And then 2, if someone hasn't found you, you get that urge to be like, I got to show them how good this hiding spot was.
Yes.
That they didn't find.
That's true. That's very true.
So like a kid would pop out and be like, look, I got it. Like, look what I did. Haha, no one found me.
I never got that feeling.
Nothing.
Thanks for bringing that up, Lee.
Well, maybe you go play hide and go seek in the woods.
I was a terrible.
There you go.
Yeah, no, thank you.
So what's the crazy thing about this is like what followed was one of the largest search and rescue operations in U.S. history at the time. This was over 1,400 searchers. This included the National Guard, FBI, park rangers, the freaking Green Berets were called in on this. And like they never get called in on stuff like this, like domestic shit. So that's to add to the spooky parfait.
And I'm sure
they combed the area.
Volunteers from the area. I mean, I'd say everybody was out.
1,400 people were looking for this kid.
Wow.
And like you're saying, this is not like a wake up in the morning, we're going to search for this kid thing. Like this is highly skilled people putting together an organized search effort in an area that
Mhm.
shouldn't, especially from the sky. Let's talk about that, because if you're watching on YouTube and you can see this picture, if you flew a helicopter over this, you could see a jackrabbit in the fucking field.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's not a whole
Yeah.
lot except little bushes. You got green berets. Like, these
Yeah.
guys are looking for guys in camouflage.
Yeah. Yeah.
They-
And so what's crazy is a couple of years after this whole thing, the Special Forces commander wrote an article where he was like, and this is what he said: our Special Forces are never called to assist in civilian operations. That falls to the local National Guard and approved by the state governor. The fact that we were armed as well is another huge no-no. During my command and every other mission I was aware of, we were not allowed by federal protocol to do either. Something is very wrong with this missing kid scenario. I've done some research on this case both while on active duty and after my retirement. The inside facts of this case depict a frightening investigation. The bottom line is that searching started within a few minutes of the boy's disappearance and lasted 3 months, with every
Wow.
rescue resource imaginable being deployed. Don't even start with the terrain was difficult, holes and caves and cliffs and creeks, etc. Our special troops can find almost anything, anytime, and in any terrain. We have the highest technology available worldwide and easily the best training and real-world wartime mission-specific experience that the normal civilian populace can scarcely imagine. After studying this case, the fact that no trace of the boy was ever found is mind-boggling.
That's so.
Yeah.
That's a
And then
good
he goes
point
on to
with the
say,
guns too, being armed. You
Yeah.
didn't really think about that.
yeah,
are they
he
all-
even goes on to say that like they were tasked in this search, and the Green Berets that were tasked in this search were there for a specific reason. They were armed for a specific reason. I can't and won't say why because of my oath documents won't allow it, but I will remind you of these facts. Nationwide, there have only been 4 occasions where the Special Forces were brought in on civilian missing persons cases. 2 of these involved a possible armed perpetrator. The other 2 were this case and another similar to it about 3 years later and regionally nearby. This is out of the thousands of missing cases since the early 60s when our special troops were born.
And that's straight from the horse's mouth, man. Like, this is a guy who was on the ground, who's done this before, and it's nothing but strangeness.
Wow.
Yeah, and for him to say that like it's so weird that they were armed running through the forest looking for this kid. So like, what is out there snatching up people?
That they already know about.
Yeah, and that's coming from the commander of a special forces unit. Like, that's insane.
Bigfoot, dun dun dun.
Right? And it just gives more way to like sinister theories. You know, some people believe he was abducted. There's an account from another family, the Key family. They were hiking a few miles away that same afternoon, and they reported hearing a scream and seeing a disheveled man running through the woods carrying something over his shoulder. So it could have either been a feral human, because, you know, I'm sure
There's
there's some
those.
people in the Smoky Mountains that are feral and shit like that. Or it could have been Bigfoot.
It's just so crazy.
It's crazy, right? And then the Keys family sighting was never conclusively linked to his disappearance. And then we get all these theories that are straight out of a horror movie. Like, they suggest that Dennis might have been taken by something otherworldly, like, you know, abducted by aliens, or Bigfoot had him slung over his fucking back.
It's one of those, because I can't go with the guy, the disheveled man. There's a family full of people and kids everywhere. Someone would have said like, "Oh, he's taking Dennis." Like, he's screaming.
That's what I was going to say. Is Dennis, is he just okay with this? He's just over the shoulder. You know, I mean, it's just bizarre.
Yeah, like what you would hear a kid screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like 20 feet from him.
And
Exactly.
I just cannot imagine his parents. I know that they remained utterly devastated and never really stopped trying to find and figure out
How
what happened
could
to
you?
their son. I mean,
Yeah, no. Even after all this time, this kid's case is like a painful cautionary tale.
mhm.
All right, let's move on. I don't want to talk about this one anymore. This one creeps me out. I
Nope.
wanna think about
Let's
kids.
go to
Okay.
Alaska and talk about the Black Pyramid. because that's a whole thing in itself.
So yeah, this is a new one, and this is the one I was talking about. Like, we need to do a whole episode on the Black
Black
Pyramid in
Period.
Alaska.
Okay.
This one was Nathan Campbell. He vanished in 2020,
Okay.
and he was actually searching for said legend of the Black Pyramid.
Can we back up? Help me.
Yes.
A pyramid in Alaska is where I'm stuck. So are we like Indiana Jones style?
Yes,
here?
yes, yes.
What?
Crystal
Okay.
Skull style.
Yeah, apparently there's this Black Pyramid in Alaska, and it's got nobody can get to it because of like the terrain and shit like that. People try. I think there's somebody on Reddit that's trying to go to it right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'd be
it's like
interested to talk
him
to
and
him.
like 6 other
Okay.
people. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been kind of following that one, but I've got no updates yet.
So how do we know that it
So-
exists if nobody can get there?
Right.
It's
So
rumored.
it's
And
rumored.
Apparently, there's stuff you can see from the sky that like resembles a darkened space on the surface. That we will do research into it and find out
Okay.
more about the actual pyramid.
So yeah, some people believe it's a energy source or some sort of extraterrestrial ship or something
Mhm.
like that. So Nathan, he was just fascinated by the legend and wanted to set out for Carrie Lake and find it, as
Yeah.
all explorers want to do.
Yep.
Right.
Well, again, experienced outdoorsman. He's a family man. He's known to like love his family and be like an advocate for children. Him and his wife actually started, I don't know if it was a fundraiser or a program for like abused children. So he's a part of community. He's plugged in. It's not like he's looking to disappear right away.
Damn, yeah. So
Really
he's like
weird.
Yeah.
typical cookie cutter family man. Yeah, he had a
Mhm.
wife and 4 boys that lived in
Oh.
they lived in Alaska for years, so they were accustomed to like the harshest place on earth pretty much. Like you have to pretty much fly in and out of there. There's no
Yep.
just driving all over Alaska.
Right.
Yeah, and he had a hunting license, and so he knew his way around the outdoors.
It's crazy. He actually, like, he was obsessed. So he spent months studying and planning for this excursion to find this. It's Carrie Lake. It's located in northwest Denali National Park. It's formerly actually Mount McKinley, which, if you know anything
Yeah.
about like
That sounds
shady
more familiar.
mountains,
Yep.
Mount
Mhm.
McKinley's up there.
Hmm.
Again, equipped. He's got all the things. He's got survival gear, fishing gear, cooking supplies. He's got a Garmin InReach satellite device for communication. And it also doubles as an emergency location
Wow.
beacon.
Oh
So,
yeah,
like-
if I was ever anywhere in Alaska, I would
Yeah.
definitely have a sat phone
Mm-hmm.
and flares and everything, all the shit.
Yeah, he's serious about this too. This is not like, it's not like some guy that's just like, hey, I'm gonna go out with my like camel pack and my flashlight. Like,
Right.
what he was
And
doing.
hunt for the Black Pyramid in Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah, so back in May of 2020, he hired pilot Jason Sturgis to take him and his gear to Carrie Lake. And during the flight, Nathan revealed that his goal was to search for this Black Pyramid, and he was in communication with his wife, Vanessa, and that ceased around June 13th. His last known GPS coordinates to Jason, which indicated a location 5 miles from Carrie Lake. So he did not make it to the pyramid.
Should I
You want to
even
guess if they found anything or
Oh,
not?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want to ask that
No.
question?
No, I'm not asking. I'm just going to say no, of course not. Why would they?
Not at first. Ye of little faith. So in September of 2020, the Park Service search team found Nathan's collapsed tent and supplies, but no sign of him, except
Eh?
for his diary. They found his diary, though. And the entries stopped on June 13th when he stopped communicating with his wife. He described life in the wilderness, but no mention of significant discoveries. Nathan and his GPS device were never found. So it's like they
He
found
had it-
stuff, but didn't find stuff.
So he had his device with him.
Again, he's not going to separate himself from his like lifelines. This
So why?
it's so
Ow.
crazy. And The cases just keep getting weirder, like mysterious pyramids, experienced hikers with GPS going missing. Going
Okay.
missing with GPS is like the craziest thing to
Oh,
think about.
yeah.
So
absolutely.
so with the satellite phones, so are they not able to track it? Like, do you have to actually be the one to call out? Like, talk to me like I'm 5 and tell me how
I'm
these are
pretty
different than
sure
cell
there's
phones.
all different kinds. There's all different kinds, probably. But I think what he had is like top of the line. Like he can be like communicated with. I think they can at least like relay the location.
Right. So
Like
like
maybe
if
they can't
he
talk to him. Yeah.
Somebody
uh,
email us at SSOS podcast@gmail.com
well, that's what I was
and
just wondering.
explain
I was
sat
like,
phones to us.
yeah, because okay.
No,
Do
it's
we
a good
know
question.
when they started looking for him? What was that date?
Oh,
She reported him missing
on the 13th of
on the
June.
13th.
So she did report it on the 13th. Okay. But they didn't find anything until September. So presumably they would try to ping the satellite phone
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Not until
his diary indicates
September.
he's alive. So they should have been able to ping the satellite phone.
And says nothing about any like danger or anything. Like that's
Yeah.
the first place you would put it. Is like,
Yeah.
oh, encountered grizzly bear.
Yeah, grizzlies
Yeah.
are circling. I mean,
Yeah, like,
I mean,
something. I don't know.
oh,
It's
wow.
Yeah,
crazy.
and then I don't know if like a sat phone like would like you could still find its location if the
See-
battery died. Maybe it's like the same way
Mm.
with cell phones. Like if the battery died, it would be like its last known location, and then you would just
Right.
start
Yeah.
searching
That's
there.
exactly.
I'm sure, especially in the case of like a missing person, someone can extract that data from a satellite somewhere. Like,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Okay.
I would definitely
Again.
have a sat phone if I was in Alaska, though, 100%.
Well, apparently it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I would have it in
Gosh.
Montana or the Smoky Mountains. Like, fuck.
Mhm.
Apparently you can disappear
All right.
anyway. So just
Anywhere,
keep
yeah,
that in
right?
mind.
All right. This one, I teased this one like in the genesis of this podcast.
I
Like, we were
know.
talking about like what episodes to do, and we were talking about the missing 411, and I brought this case up. This case is Kenny. I think you pronounce his name Vach. Is that
Kenny
right?
V.
Vach. Yeah, we'll call him Kenny V.
Let's do
But
it.
he was in search for something called the M Cave.
Ooh.
Out of all these cases we talked about today, and of the 411, this is probably one of the like weirdest, most rabbit holey internet legends ever.
It's really saying something.
Yeah. Do you have
So-
a picture of this?
I do, yes. So this is Kenny V. This is actually a picture of like a large well thing he was known to like do his YouTube videos by. Like he would set up his camera and talk in front of it.
Oh, okay.
But Kenny, again, seasoned hiker. He's an adventurer. He also was huge into conspiracy theories. On Reddit, he followed Stephen Greer. If you know who he is, Dr. Stephen Greer. He has a YouTube page. And you can find Kenny's comments all over that page.
So he's kind of like, he could have been our fourth host.
Yeah, he would have been a great host for us.
Kenny V joins SSOS.
Yeah, so he claimed that he discovered something extraordinary in the Mojave Desert, and it was a cave with a M-shaped entrance.
Okay.
So he said that just one day while he was walking out hiking in the Mojave, he stumbled across this cave, but he notes that like when he got close to it, he started to feel an intense vibration.
Mm.
So much so that he was uncomfortable and he left.
Oh, damn.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So he actually, and you can go, he has his own YouTube page, so you can hear him talk about this yourself. He actually says, like, the first time he saw this, he himself was amazed that he didn't go in the cave. He said he had never found a cave that he didn't explore.
Ooh.
So this is like
So it was
Indiana
that,
Jones guy.
Mm-hmm.
It was that forceful that he didn't even
Yep.
go.
Like
Wow.
he turned around and was like, I'm not doing this. I got that ick feeling.
Did he take a
No
picture?
good. No, he did not take a picture of the cave, which would have been huge because, being the conspiracy theorist that Kenny was, he went home, he got on the internet, he started finding people talking about mysterious caves. He introduced his story into the forum, and the internet went wild. So they were like, hey, you got to go back, you got to find this thing, you got to find out why it was vibrating, all this stuff. Kenny being Kenny, no
yes, I
problem.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
this sounds like the worst decision you would ever make in every horror
Yep.
movie.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the weird vibrating cave that gave me the ick.
By
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, by
Oh,
myself.
see, again.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he was
Okay.
asking to go missing.
It was, which is one of the
Kenny.
sad theories. Yeah. In November of 2014, he went back. He
Of course
was
he
equipped for a 3-day hike, and he was absolutely determined to find this M cave. Sadly, he vanished. Search teams found his car near the trailhead. Later, they found his cell phone near this mine shaft that we're looking at if you're on the YouTube.
Okay.
The phone was not damaged and still had battery life.
Damn.
And on top of that, it looked like it was deliberately placed near that mine shaft.
Oh.
So not like,
Oop, he fell in. Just assume
Mhm.
that and everything's fine.
Just going to put your phone up here, buddy.
Mhm.
Just out of
Super
reach.
weird. They checked the
Ugh.
shaft. They didn't find anything. They went down there with cameras and everything. No remains. They did helicopters, dog searches. No trace.
So there was no animal tracks, no campsite, nothing.
Nope.
I hate all
Not
of this.
a clue. Just his phone there by the mine shaft, charged with battery. The creepier thing about this, if it could get any creepier, is that the Mojave Desert and where Kenny was hiking
Mm,
is extremely close to Nellis Air Force Base.
I knew it.
And if you
Yeah.
know what Nellis Air Force Base is,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
Area
home
51.
of Area 51.
I couldn't hold it in.
Hey, I know.
I
my
lived
alien
so close.
excitement.
Remember when I was out there in the
I
Mojave
know.
Desert?
Yeah, that was the closest I've ever been.
Oh man, yeah. So
Oh,
when
wow.
we first started this podcast, I was living in Topic, Arizona. So it's like sort of by Needles, California, Lake Havasu, Arizona. And it's an hour from Vegas. And you could see the lights of Nellis Air Force Base and shit like that in Area 51. The Mojave Desert is so creepy,
Yeah.
but it's so cool at the same time.
Mm.
It's crazy. So, like I said, there's theories that like he wandered too close to Area 51 and the guys in the white truck picked him up or something like that. It's really one of those mysteries that like the more you keep looking into this case, the weirder it gets. So, on the internet, there was another YouTuber who was very interested in finding the cave after Kenny kind of laid out its potential location. Also, another weird thing, let me say this. Something that's really weird about this case. Kenny was a YouTuber. So
Yeah.
there's footage of him in the Mojave Desert pointing in the direction, laying out where he's going to go, what mountains he's looking at, how long he thinks he's walking in certain directions. So it's not like this, I have no idea where he started or where he went. Like he's
Right.
laid this out.
And he
Enough
tells you
that-
where he's at.
Enough that another YouTuber like took his notes and videos and tried to find the M cave himself. Multiple YouTubers have done this. One in particular had some kind of connect with someone who was former government and basically tipped this guy off to where the M cave could potentially be. Yeah.
Okay.
But did
So, yep. So this YouTuber finds a cave. Initially, he finds this cave. It's got the M shape. It matches
wow.
all the things. So Kenny had said it was about waist high. It was big enough for him to crawl into, and the front of it looked like a capital M.
This feels like a terrible idea.
Yes.
Yeah. Did anything weird happen?
Did anything weird? Yeah, it's all fucking weird.
I mean, yeah, weirder happened when this guy found the cave.
Oh.
So he finds this cave, and it's clearly has evidence of like human presence. There's stacked rocks. There's all kinds of like rubble and like garbage. There's water bottles. There's debris. He actually finds like a piece of metal sticking out of rubble. And it's a sign that says restricted area, use of deadly force authorized.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. That's
definitely part of Area 51 because I'm pretty sure they have those signs all over the place.
Yep. Exactly. And
whoa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Super creepy. He gets creeped out. And
hopefully
leaves.
peaced out. Yeah, okay, good.
He's done. He did his thing.
I mean, he found the cave, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another explorer goes out to find the cave again. So after this first YouTuber found it, found the sign, got creeped out, this guy goes out again. He finds something that resembles the M cave, but this time it's like intentionally sealed up. So he describes it as like being blocked up with rocks from around the area, but like they're loose enough that like you can push them in and see that like there's obviously something behind this that I can go into.
Oh no.
Huh.
Okay,
that's not sketchy at all.
Mm-hmm.
And not very military smart. Like
no, it seems almost like haphazard. Yeah, like just cover it up, Jonathan.
Yeah.
But his name was Sean.
Okay.
He hung out around this area for a little while. He didn't describe anything weird or feeling weird initially. He says after spending time near this cave, he started to become violently ill. Nausea, dry heaving,
like Havana syndrome or something.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, actually, yeah. And the further he got away from the cave, the better he felt.
All of that.
Yeah, no, that just sounds like, some sort of tech, like military crowd control heat rays or those infrasound weapons that just make you super sick and nauseous.
Yeah, they definitely have those, like the super sound cannons. What is it? It's called brown something.
The brown note?
Something like that. Yeah, because it's supposed to make you shit your pants. Like,
yeah.
What?
But they also have like,
come on.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
At least leave us some dignity if you're gonna, know.
Oh, there's no dignity in it.
Well, that's
and
just...
again, theories don't end. Like, you get every theory wrapped up in this story. People are still trying to figure out exactly what went on. We go through the aliens, you go through, feral humans is a big one for this one. Apparently, there's a population.
Aliens.
Apparently, there's a population in the Mojave Desert of feral humans.
Oh, really?
Brings out like the hills have eyes kind of fucking fear.
Oh, that does. That's terrifying.
Which is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. But yeah, Kenny V is personally also one of like my huge YouTube rabbit holes.
So just
man, I'm gonna have to look up his videos now.
Nothing found of him at all. Nothing.
Nope, just that cell phone. That was really it.
No
Unfortunately, along with all these theories, there is one theory that's kind of sad. Kenny was suffering from depression and had been going through financial issues at the time. So his girlfriend had even suggested that there might be a possibility that like he went into the desert to disappear.
But after getting all of that like intention and interest on his videos, I mean, it just seems like less of a likely time, but you don't know those things.
It doesn't seem like someone who wanted to go missing, telling everybody where you're going and what you're looking for.
Everybody's excited and cheering you on.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. But, Kenny V, he's not truly a 411. Like, I don't think David's put him in anything, but it's a rabbit hole for sure.
Yeah, that is
just looking.
I would say it's a 411. Like he went,
he's in Denali Park. Yeah, and it's got all the things. I mean, the only thing I think you don't have here is like weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got, boulder fields, rocks, you got an experienced hiker, you have some kind of weird sound or reported feeling. There's so many things. He doesn't have a disability, but the hiker, he's experienced.
Yeah.
There's theories. I don't know. People
Yeah.
have lots of ideas.
Mm. Okay.
We can quickly, I know we've been taking a lot of time. This is kind of a long episode. So we've talked about a few of them. We'll quickly go through like some of the possibilities and what people are kind of chalking this stuff up to. Obviously, first we start off with like natural causes and human error. That means like
Mhm.
someone falls, you fall into a ravine, off a cliff, there's sinkholes, there's all kinds of things that could just happen to you. You can fall in a river, you can drown. In some of these cases, like you could be trapped with bad weather and isolated.
Yeah,
So
but
like
why do dogs never pick up one single smell of you?
again, I think every
Right.
time we go through this, there's you can give the rational explanations and then immediately go, but why?
And
Mhm.
animals don't eat your clothing in large quantities. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, they might accidentally, get some of you or whatever, but they're going to leave behind a lot of clothing scraps and evidence of a struggle, that kind of thing. Plus, animal attacks are exceedingly rare. I really don't even care where you are.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, they actually are, even for just dumbasses that go
Hmm.
out.
And
I
fatal
mean,
ones too. Like
yeah, it's
to the
just
point you're saying like a bobcat or a bear, I mean like a mountain lion or a bear
yeah, that is so
hunted,
rare.
attacked you, and then dragged you to like up a tree or in their cave. And then nothing
Yeah.
was
Yeah, no.
and
And
then
that's one of the and they leave evidence. I mean, they know what that looks like, when
exactly.
these things do happen. They know what and it you
And
don't
not
go
to be super
quietly.
gross, like you would come out the other end of that bear. Like
Yes.
they would find
Or
scat and be like, "Oh, there's definitely human hair in here." Like they're not dumb.
no.
Yeah, and like you said, they scatter bones, other predators. Like you would,
Yeah.
I think that's like the number one cross off is wildlife for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I do too.
Um,
There would be so
yeah.
many signs.
Mhm. Like we said, getting lost. You could have a medical emergency, but again, getting lost, you'll be screaming. People will be looking for you. You would think eventually someone would show up or something. Same with
Well,
a medical emergency.
oh, yeah, that and, the problem too is with so many of these being experienced people, they know that rule number, 1 or 2, don't move. Don't make
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
worse. Do
Yep.
not make it worse. They
Stay
know these
put.
things. Exactly. I
Mhm.
mean, the kids, of course, they're not gonna, know that as much, but these experienced people know. It's like if they were to even find themselves lost, which is somewhat unlikely, but we are all human and things can happen, so, they wouldn't
Who
just,
knows?
yeah, keep hiking 12 miles straight
Mhm.
up into worse territory and
Mhm.
terrain, I wouldn't think.
No. And you just brought up
No.
a good point because you said like kids wouldn't wander. And I just saw on the news a couple of days ago that there were a bunch of kids lost in the woods for a couple of days and they all survived.
Hmm.
Yeah, I didn't read the whole
I
thing, but
forgot.
I
Yeah, I
saw
don't
the
know the finer
headline.
detail. But again, kids are resourceful. They're small. They'll hide. They'll,
But
you
well,
know,
they even tested on one of these 411 child cases, they had, like, a survivalist guy go try to, like, because they
oh, they
found
had, yeah, the
they found the
survival man.
remains, like, so
Hmm.
high up, and he couldn't
Mhm.
even barely
He
do
couldn't
it.
climb
There
the
was
thing. Yeah.
no way. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's
There's
so
no
many
way a
more
small child's gonna
cases,
do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
than what we've presented here, but, I mean, yeah, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, people would be found, especially with
Yes.
the efforts that are devoted.
Mhm.
And then we can't rule off human involvement, criminal activity, foul play, abductions, murders. Again, very low on my list for probability in these cases, just because they're so neat. They're clean. Nothing's left. Like, it's not an
Right,
attack.
right.
Uh, they mention things like theories of like cults and ritual killings.
Oh,
Again,
man.
Mm,
personally, very low on the list.
Yeah.
Usually being done to be seen. So kind of defeats the purpose. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, because if you're a cult or you're doing it as a ritual, obviously there's a cult of people that want to know about this, so someone knows about it. And if you're just doing it to like show off and make a statement like a rogue Satanist statement that doesn't really understand the plot. Like
Yeah,
they
it just
want you to
doesn't.
see that.
Right,
Yeah.
you would think, yeah. And where
Yeah.
are you taking
And
them? You have to have a place to do this ritual.
An altar, a thing, a tree stump, something, right?
Yeah. And if it's cults, there's just going to be more that there's going to be so many people and you can't keep a secret
Yeah.
like that.
And there's
Yeah,
layers to cults. It would be, we'd hear something somewhere about.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you get good old government involvement, which
Woof,
is way
woof.
high on the list for me.
Oh,
Especially when
yeah.
you get the FBI
Especially with
involved and
and the Green Berets and everything. Yeah, they've
yeah.
got
Mhm.
something going on in there. They know what's up.
The thing that gets me for government involvement is the ownership of the land. Like 90% of this land that these people are going on is owned by the government.
That's true.
Oh, like it's one of those things where it's like, hey, it's my land. They have all the power on it, technically. And if like you're like, I wouldn't be surprised if that somewhere, some back end of some law somewhere, like you give up certain rights walking into a state park.
Oh, I bet.
So I'm sure there's something there, which again, super nefarious. Who knows what the hell the government is actually doing. So
Right.
government involvement's up there. We talked about feral humans. Another possibility for like human involvement.
Mhm.
We have to do an episode
I
on
don't
this.
know
I
how
do
much.
not know about feral humans.
Ooh, we could
Oh,
totally do
man.
it. I'd love to
I
do
would
an
don't
love
episode
to
know
on
do a
about this.
feral humans episode.
again. Here's my look on this. Is a feral human a man or a woman or child who has been surviving off the land in some of the harshest environments going to be physically capable of taking out a special forces like Marine? Like, I just don't see that happen.
I don't still see it. Yeah.
I think this scraggly guy that's been living off of like berries and salmon is not taking out like a Green Beret. Like it's
Well,
no.
and then
It's not
why?
happening.
Why would they like to eat them? Is that the like? Are they
I guess that
cannibal
would be
feral
probably the
people?
thing, or
Well, they'd
just like a
have to.
territorial type thing.
I guess, but that see to me that loses credibility with that Washington Trail. That's like so
Easy.
popular, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Again, it's like all these things. You could find a way to cross them off because once you look at them and you zoom out and you look at them all,
yeah,
you can just get to cross it off the list. Like you said, like that's a small area. It's populated. It's on a walking trail. Like feral humans aren't living off of hiking trails.
right.
No.
Because I feel like you
No,
wouldn't be feral
they're
for
deep in
long.
the woods. Yeah.
And not to mention like those places are as wild as we want to make them feel for our like domesticated humans.
Yeah.
Like they're maintained, they're manicured, there's rangers, like they're highly trafficked, they're
Mhm.
not super remote.
Mhm.
So yeah, feral humans not on, I don't think on that one. We're thinking about feral humans. Then we get the stuff that oddly is super weird, but somehow higher and more plausible. So we start talking about things like alien abduction and Bigfoot, skinwalkers. Like, for some reason, I'm
Mhm.
more inclined to be like,
To
yeah, it
believe
was
that.
definitely one of these things.
Well,
I'm
then that
definitely in
makes
the
more
camp. It's
sense.
Bigfoot or UFOs. Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. So obviously, we can sit all day and talk about like the possibility of this being aliens and Bigfoot. I don't think we need to. I will add this to the aliens and Bigfoot thing. This is something we noticed last time. So these are
Okay.
maps. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening, I'll describe. There's 3 maps. The top left here is the missing persons map. The bottom left is the United States cave systems. So all the entrances and exits to the cave systems. And then to the right is the UAP sightings map. And the interesting about these is that where all of the dots are for each one of these individual things, whether it be the cave, a missing person, or a UAP sighting, they all overlap. So
Yeah,
you get
it's like
missing
a
people on top
perfect
of
match.
caves, on top of UFOs.
Oh
I will
wow.
give the skeptics something on this one that is a pure fact that you can't deny. The areas that have these dots on them are the most populated areas in our country. So there's that. But missing people, caves, coincidence. I don't know. I think Bigfoot lives in caves.
Yeah,
Like, it's
that's
back
how he
to
gets all
the
over the place.
yeah, the granite and
The
the
rock, the
different
boulder fields. Again,
Mhm.
these stories are fucking weird. Every time we
Well,
do this, I get super creeped out and I don't want to go
yeah.
into the woods anymore.
So
another
how do you guys feel about missing 411?
Well, another thing, for the whole government thing, and I don't know if anything's changed from when, he started first investigating this, but, like the National Forest, they did not want to honor any of his FOIA requests. If you
Oh yeah,
start
no,
looking
not at
at,
all.
and they were making up
Mhm.
crazy things, like he didn't have his books in enough libraries.
Yeah,
And they were denying FOIA, and it's like, that's not a thing. They're like, well, it's internal
Yeah.
policy. And it's like, what are you doing? It
just
made
making
no
shit up.
sense. And then
Hey,
that he
Yeah.
learned that, and this baffled my mind, it still baffles my mind, that the national parks were not keeping, they were not keeping track of missing people in their parks.
No, that is,
I
we talked
was
No,
about that
like,
on the
that that
what?
is
last one.
wild.
Yes,
Does that
that
not?
is.
There's no way
But
that I
this, I
believe
think,
that. I don't believe
like I'm
that.
saying, there's loopholes because you're on their property. Like
Yeah.
they're the ones
Mhm.
tallying this stuff. They can say, "Hey, Jim
Yeah,
Jones, this guy never disappeared. I don't know who the fuck this is." Like,
right.
Yeah.
it's so creepy.
But they know. I know they know
Mhm.
100%, who's missing, because it's like he brought up on a podcast, that he was on, and he was like, they know how many rolls of toilet paper are in
Mhm.
each,
We
Mhm.
do, man.
there's
It's
no way they don't know,
yeah, sure.
how
Just
many
think
are missing and stuff, but so that just
No.
ticks another box, for the government conspiracy portion for me.
for real.
Yeah.
Like I said, they just keep getting weirder. They get creepier. The theories don't end. I mean, we didn't even talk about some of these theories like energy vortexes or spiritual testings or cursed or sacred land, like
Mhm.
ley
Who knows?
lines. It literally could
Yeah,
be anything because we have no clue. We're
Nope.
left
right,
in all these cases, scratching our heads, turning to each other and being like, what the fuck?
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope one day we find out why. Maybe I don't hope we find out why. Like, I'm kind
Oh
of
man.
scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows what's really out there? I mean, maybe they know what's out there, but I don't think I want to know.
They know. They all know. And if you know, you
Tell
should
us.
do what?
Yeah.
You should email us at ssospodcast@gmail.com because
That's
we want to know what's in these parks.
let's fucking know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Before my
all right,
next
guys.
camping trip, preferably.
That would be nice.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for hanging out with us. This has been a little bit of a long one, I know.
Worth
We
it.
just can't stop these theories. And again, we can
No.
do a whole nother episode and not touch any of the same cases. So
Oh,
No,
yeah.
because there was a couple of
we'll do
cases
that.
that we have that
Oh,
we
I
didn't throw
know.
in
Yes,
there.
yeah, I
Yeah.
had to slim things down a little bit because now we're at an hour and a half, and I don't think there's much to cut. Again,
It's a
thank
good one.
you everybody for supporting us, listening,
Mhm.
sharing. I also haven't said this, but I want to say thank you to all our guests who have come on the show.
Mm.
I really appreciate their time. If you haven't
Yeah.
listened to our latest episode, we interview Jack from the Free Society of Satanists. They are an anarchistic satanistic group. So we sit down, me and Josh have an interesting conversation with him. I would check that out. Other than that, y'all know the deal. Like, subscribe, follow,
Okay.
do the things,
Notification
guys.
bell.
Ding, ding. Other than that, stay strange. Bye.
Bye.
Later.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to join us as a guest, suggest a topic, or have a story you want us to share, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at ssospodcast@gmail.com. For more behind-the-scenes updates and exclusive insights about SSOS, make sure to follow us on social media. And don't miss out on the fun. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, thank you for listening to the Secret Society of Strangers podcast. This show is an independent production, researched and crafted by our passionate team. But we couldn't do it without all of you. We truly appreciate your support. Embrace the unknown, for not all secrets are meant to be kept. Farewell, strangers.